What's up, everybody? This is your boy Hill Carmichael, and welcome to another installment of Heelverse podcast. And this topic I'm going to talk about, this is for my hip hop fans out there. This is old school versus new school. Who really runs hip hop? And before I start this show, thank you for all my supporters out there. Please keep supporting. Don't forget to hit the like button, share, comment, and if you want to buy me some coffee or support the channel, at the end of the video there is a link to my Cash App. All right, so let's talk about it. Hip hop between old school and new school. It's been a long debate. Everywhere you go, it's debate. Either podcast, uh, barbershop, or even you hang out with your people. There's been a long debate. Which one or which school that really runs the hip hop? And to be honest, we've been seeing a lot of change through the generational change from the 80s, the 90s, the early 2000s to current. And each era carry each styles. And where I grew up in the 90s. Even though I born in '88, but I grew up in the '90s where hip hop was very colorful. Hip hop was more lyric. It was more more vibe. But in the '80s, they had to work their way up to get their respect. Back then, look back to history, people would treat hip hop it was trash or noise making music. But now today, it's a totally complete different genre. And and now today, people saying that hip hop have fell off because there's no hip hop song that cracking the 100 top Billboard for a very long time. In which we've seen it, but it's not the first time we've seen hip hop artists that make it to the top Billboard. And I mean that's huge. That's I won't say huge, but it's very different. But if you want to talk about it, let's break it down to duration. When we look back old schools, let's talk about the 80s, the 90s, and the early 2000s. Back then, you look at lyricism and storytelling. When we talk about that, those were the two key elements in the 80s and the early 90s. Like you look back at all the artists like MC Light, De La Soul, Naughty by Nature, Tupac, the early Nas, DMX, A Tribe Called Quest, Slick Rick, Kanye West, and even Beanie Single. All of them got lyrics and great storytelling. I mean, who remember Poor Georgie? I hope I said that time right. By MC Light. And then you gotta look at Slick Rick, the children's story. And you look at, Nas when he tells his story. I mean, all these artists, they're very different, but they tell a good story and they're very good with lyrics. Hell, if you look back in the 90s, you look at, LL Cool J, he put out some great lyrics. Hell, even Will Smith. Yes, even Will Smith, he was a fun artist, and hell, way before Cornball Drake, we got Kid Play. They were more like they were more like the young bucks of hip hop music back in the '90s, the early '90s. But then then you think about it this way, they got some messages during the time the whole gun violence. They throw out some positive music like self destruction where a group of artists come together and put out their version of "We Are the World," but more of the hip hop version of it. And then you look at positive female artists who now flaunting their body. Queen Latifah, she put out positive music back in the day, and back then female artists was respected and look at them as a artist and appreciate them what they do with their microphone look at they do, with putting on the records versus shaking their ass and, talk about sex all the time. Until that was late '90s when Lil Kim and Foxy Brown. And of course, you gotta break down to the DJs. We got DJ Clue, Cool Alert, Funk Master Flex. And I'm pretty sure there's another names I may have forgot, but those DJs play important roles during that time period. Or their earlier days of mixtape. You got little cassette tapes when you record them through the radio. Those are mixtapes, or even you got to buy them from a local shop back in the day. And then around I would say early 2000s, that's where the mixtape really started popping off at the time. Those were the good old days in the 80s and 90s and the 2000s, or should I say the golden era. Then you look at the culture. The 90s, well, the 80s and 90s, the culture was very, how can I say it? It wasn't influenced, but it was noticed. But around from the 90s to the early 2000s, should I say, I couldn't say the bling bling era. Well, you might as well call it the bling bling era in 2000, early 2000s. That's where the world started to notice it. People start using hip hop as business. People start wearing the way how they dress, the outfit, their language. You see that every single movies, TV shows, even video games. They're all influenced by hip hop. I'm pretty sure they was influenced by rock and roll. Well, some were, but mostly the hip hop was influenced, or the world was influenced by hip hop. And then not only that, gangster rap comes in play and changed the whole landscape of hip hop. Around, I would say, in the mid 90s, close to mid 90s through now. And let me tell you the reason why gangster rap had changed the landscape. NWA introduced gangster rap. Ice T, Tim Dog, hell, even who was that? I'm trying to remember. Snoop Dogg, pretty much Death Row record. Gangster rap have changed hip hop so much, and people, well, I'm about to say, y'all can look it up. It's true. It make Prince and Mos Day the time had to throw some bars. And I'm not bullshit you. Go look it up. I think it was Prince in the time. Oh, not Prince at the time. Prince in the Revolution where they start spinning some bars. That's where you know they start keep up with them. Hell, even De La Soul, they try to keep up, even though they didn't act hard, but they had to play hard. If you get know I'm you try understand what I'm trying to say, because if not, they gonna be left behind. I wish we seen some artists who did that. Even Run DMC, back then it wasn't. Back then you could look at it like yeah they try to keep up, but now you look at it like you can't understand what they're trying to do because they won't be left behind. But gangster rap did change the landscape of the hip hop from fun and bubbly to in your face gangster music. Pretty much it's kind of like the attitude era of hip hop. And yes, I will bring up wrestling references. But as the time moved forward, mixtape during in the early 2000s, mixtape was very important. If you drop a new album or you just want to put the music out, mixtape was very very important. In which I will bring that around in the new school. As the years move forward, we're looking at probably 2010 or somewhere in 2001 through 2000. Hell, now, I can't say this. It is not the same, but it's more involved. The good and the bad. Like it had more diverse sound, and you add on more style of hip hop into the genre. We're talking about drill, trap, melody, hip hop blues, even the hip hop R&B. Like we got Tory Lane, he's into that mix. We got Brian, he's in that mix. Hell, even uh Top Dollar Sign, He's into that mix. Those are genre of hip hop R&B, and which they're good artists. But if you're talking about trap, you look at Young Jeezy, you look at Ti, you look at um, I would consider Two Chain, but Future, he's one of them. Young Scooter. I'm trying to think of other names I can think of. It's like plethora of names. Uh, Shirley Low, Young Dro. Who else? A little Scrappy. Well, that part I would add on to Crunk era or Crunk style because that was huge. If anytime you play crunk music, someone get their ass beat, mostly in the club or in high school when they get ready for pep rally. And trust me, I've seen it and I hear it all. But that was a different time, and it. The sound of music changed up, and not only that, mixtape was a huge part. Like I said earlier, you gotta think about it. Back in the day, in the 2000s, from 2000 and I want to say 2003 till 2010, 11, mixtape was so good you treat it like an album. No malice say that. One half of the from the clips. Datpiff.com or that piff was the best source of mixtape. You go back and listen to all the mixtape, and when the artist drop the mixtape, it's building up for the album. Let's say that it's like a prelude to the album. Those were the days. But now they don't do that. They throw like EPs, and even the EPs have like five songs, and some was okay, and then we get the album, and it's like, bleh. That type of way. But in the modern day era or the early days, it was a different sound, and we see some new artists comes up, and it would turn off older generation. If I mention these names, people will hear them and say, "Who are these?" or they never heard of them. Trippy Red, everybody knows who Kid Cudi is. XXX Tentacion, Baby Keem, of course, everybody knows Kendrick Lamar or pretty much the whole entire TD, the Top Dog Entertainment. I'm trying to think of other names. Of course, unfortunately, Takashi 69. You got Young Ma. We have, of course, Future. We have um, plenty of names. And during that time period, it would get so bad. We have lyrics versus mumble rap. It was so bad. They held a town hall meeting. It was a complex convention or event, and I watched it on YouTube. And I don't know what year it was. It was like 2000 and I believe 14 or 15. It was it's one of them years, and it was had a big debate, and people didn't like the new generation of hip hop. The younger generation, they enjoyed it. They enjoy the vibe. They enjoy the music because you gotta think about it. Their attention span didn't last that long. And that's the reason why we got short music. That's the reason why we have crazy lyrics that don't make sense. And it's out there. Like hell, Little Yachty, um, who else? OG the Juice Man, OG the Juice Man. Excuse me. Of course, Gucci Man. Those other artists. With that, we've seen artists come up. We've seen the style. We've seen the culture divided. Like back then, the only way you see new artists is through social media. We see more new artists through social media than we see or hear them through radio, in which that's a huge difference from back in the day to now. Because back then, if you want to hear some new artists, 10 out of 10, you will listen to the hip hop radio station. Back then, there was no Spotify. Yeah, we got SoundCloud, but if you want to hear some new artists, you gotta listen to them either a mixtape or an urban radio station. Where I come from, my go-to spot is Hot 103.9. Back then, when Charlamagne the God was a radio station host, and every I don't know what day he should do this. Every Tuesday night or Wednesday night, it's always a mixtape night. I miss those days, but that was a mixtape night where you hear new artists. Like that's why I discovered 50 Cent diss track Piggy Bank from the album The Massacre, which it was classic. Those was the days. Now you go to social media like TikTok or Instagram or even Twitter, but you will find more artists through TikTok than you find it on Spotify because of the music. Because everybody's doing the trend. That's how they got over. And not only that, back then you look at the double XL freshman magazines. I don't think people read magazines anymore. Back then, we see freshmen, you knew which artists will come out. But now the freshman class for the past, I would say 3 years, it's been trash. Some artists you heard before and they blew up, but other is like straight up trash, and which is sad. And then not only that, you look at the female artists of today, like Cardi B, Nicki Minaj, Megan Thee Stallion, and the rest of the females. There's no good artists. I mean, Cardi B, yeah, here and there. Of course, you got SZA and you got Rhapsody. Well, Rhapsody, she a whole different breed because she is a one hell of a talented artist. But SZA, she's more of an R&B artist, and Cardi B, she's a good artist. And Nicki Minaj, let's keep it real. Back then, she's not even a hip hop purist. She's more of an artist who attracted to the LGBT artists, I mean audience, and the Gooners. That's it. She's more like a hip hop version of Sable, if you know, you know. And now with a lot of female artists, you will find the same female artists from Now That's TV and Zeus and OnlyFans more than you find somebody who can spit some bars. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some great talented artists out there, but you will find more hip hop artists, female artists from those platforms because they want to look, but they don't want you to hear the bars. And Megan Thee Stallion, on the other hand, she gets some good bars, but she only good for shaking her cheeks. But you got Glorilla, in which she's my favorite artist. She can spit some bars too, which I enjoy her work, her body of work. And speak of that, body of work versus trend. Back in the day, the golden days of hip hop, you got to have a good body of work. No skip allowed. It's like from beginning to the end, great albums. I can name at least probably three or four. Jay Z, The Blueprint, DMX, Dark as Hell. It's dark and hot as hell. And I'm gonna throw in Cameron, Purple Haze. But Cameron is my favorite artist. But Cameron, Purple Haze. But now it's very rare to find it. Like, of course, Kendrick Lamar, his recent album, GNX, Baby Kim, his recent album, Casino. Then you look at, I'm trying to think what other artists who got a great album, great body of work. Um, it's a long album. It's a long catalogs. Hell, Rick Ross. But but between these two generations, you can tell the big difference. Hell, even the cultural difference between back then to now. Today, it's all about get high. It's all about get drunk, party, mollies, perp, take your women, bust somebody head. Now you might ask yourself, what's the difference between back then to now? Back then, They want to sell some dope. The 80s and 90s and 2000s sell some yay. Got the flash cars. But but now they're talking about get high, get drunk, be on the mileage and perks. That's all they're talking about in some artists. Mostly the perk artists. And some artists I know, but they never worth mention. So that's a big difference, and that's the reason why you hear so many people saying that today generation of hip hop is pretty much falling off because there's not too many artists that can do it. However, you got some good artists from well, you got some legends still out there. Like Redman, he's still out there. He put out some work in, even though he's a legend. Method Man, Nas, he's still doing it. De La Soul, they dropped their recent album, Cabin in the Sky, was my all-time favorite album. Kendrick Lamar, of course, you know what it is. Hell, even Snoop Dogg, he dropped his album. You got some good batch of dope artists and legends still making hip hop great again. And of course, you got the rest is what it is. In my humble opinion about this hip hop between old school and new school, is old school is better than new school? Certain elements, yes. Because I feel like back then they got some great message. Like Ice Cube, either Death Certificate or America's Most Wanted. He threw out some message way before Kendrick Lamar, in which Kendrick Lamar dropped some messages album as well. And then you look at storytelling. I've heard more storytellings in the '90s and late 2000s. I mean early 2000s. More I hear it today. It's all about vibes of today versus storytelling. Make you want to chill out and vibe. And don't get me wrong. There's some good vibe music out there. And then we talk about influence. Early days, it was a good influence. Now, not so much. But I would say both hip hop is evolving. So we're the two different cultures. But I feel like I should do a part two on this because there's so much stuff I want to dig in. But that's the time of the show. I hope you guys enjoy it. Until then, I see you guys next time. Maybe a part two. See you guys later. Bye.